upstate New York by providing the marketing power of the National Park Service. This will affect all of upstate New York, and it is beginning to work. I passed another bill. It took about 9 years to pass a bill that was brought to me by a Syracuse person. And the idea was that we would test every newborn in America for hearing loss at birth. Every baby receives a series of tests, the APGAR tests, when they're born. We just added this to that test, but it took 9 years to get it done, and it required support from Democrats all the way along, as well as Republicans. But now, when we began, 3% of the babies in America were being tested. Today, it's 96% of the babies born in this country are tested for that, and that first year of learning is of critical importance, and so we're making a difference there. I have not been partisan. I'm interested in problem solving much more than policy. I'm interested in people far more than politics. And the tone that my opponent sets, this very aggressive, negative, gloom and doom approach, is not, and I underline, not the way to be successful in Washington. It may seem so as a staffer who watches the activity among the members of Congress, but there's a lot of collegiality that's required, and I think that's one of the things that I'm noted for.
Congressman, go ahead.
Mr. McClure, go ahead.
Depart just a moment here. The question, it seems to me, that everybody that I hear, Donna and I hear out on the street, want to hear you respond to is the question, they like you. They see the good work you've done. They oppose this war in Iraq. What choice do they have but to vote against you?
I just think that's short-sighted, Bob.
Okay.
I think it's short-sighted because the greatest impact any member of Congress can have is on their home district. I mean, that argument could be used against Hillary Clinton because she has supported the war. But I don't think that it's wise to work that way. I think that you have to weigh everything. The benefits, people normally vote in their best interest. They know how effective I have been at problem solving. We're cleaning up Onondaga Lake. We're rebuilding our neighborhoods. We're transitioning our economy from analog to digital. We're investing in all of our hospitals, all of our social services agencies. He says anybody can do it, but that remains to be seen. It took a long time in terms of seniority to get to that point. So I just think that to the people who are heartsick about the war, I am too. To the people who wring their hands about the news, I do too. But there is no easy answer, and there is no simple option. Just cutting off all funds and withdrawing our troops is a simple and wrong answer. So I would urge people to vote in their best interest, and I think they'll do the right thing.
Dan, could you address the question that you're simply a one-issue candidate all about the war?
I remember being criticized because I had so many positions on my website that did nothing to do with the war, and I've had them on from the beginning. I'm about revitalizing the economy in upstate New York and making sure that young people stay in this district and want to stay in this district, and that we reach our potential in the future and we don't continue to slide down. He says that I'm doom and gloom and all this other stuff. Look, I think we have the best place to live in the country and in the world, but it's not going to remain that way forever. We need to break away from the same old, same old. Mr. Walsh talks about, some things he's done, that bill for helping kids here. That's a tremendous bill. Yes, you should be proud of that. That was 10 years ago. Congressman Walsh talks about how it's about quality of life. He's been in office 18 years. At some point, we have to look at results, not just where money's been thrown. He says Onondaga Lake is one of his biggest accomplishments. Mr. Walsh, the lake is still not clean. You still can't even eat fish from it. And he then says that I have been partisan and he has not been. Well, tell that to my mother. I mean, it's not partisan to disagree with you, Congressman. It's not partisan. I have thousands and thousands of Republicans that I personally talked to who disagree with Congressman Walsh and have a lot of the same criticisms that I do. Being critical in a democracy is a duty. It's not simply partisanship. In fact, and he mischaracterizes what people do on the staff level. Staffs work together a great deal on Capitol Hill. In fact, a lot of the work is done at the staff level. I have worked with members of the staffs on the majority and the Ways and Means on a great many things. In fact, if there's no disagreement between the members, that's when it gets sent to the staff. It just makes no sense what he's saying, except that it's the one way he can justify voting 9 out of 10 times with President Bush. Somehow this isn't happening. You know, if you want to see the same thing, then yeah, you should vote for Mr. Walsh. He is a nice guy. But if you want to see a change, if you want to see a different future for Central New York, I think you should vote for me.
Our final question before we get to our 3-minute final statements. Most Americans, gentlemen, pick candidates based on how they believe that person will perform in office. Character matters because we're asking you to make decisions on our part that affect our families, our future, and our nation that we love. Your character is part of that package. Who in your life has influenced your character the most? And when viewers head to the polls in 2 weeks, do you feel that your character will play a role in their decision to give you their vote for congressman? We begin with you, Mr. Maffei.
Oh, I think at least in terms of public character, in terms of what I would do as a congressman, it's no question about it. I've already answered the question. It's Daniel Patrick Moynihan, the great senator from New York. You know, it's funny, when he first ran, he took a lot of the same criticisms that I'm taking. You know, well, you know, you've worked and lived in other places, you served in the administration, he had even served in India. Too brainy to be a congressman, to be a senator. And yet, I think that, you know, he showed over his 24-year Senate career how much he did, and how much he did for the hometown. You know, he didn't wave around press releases about money that he got. But for instance, his transportation bill, it was called the Intermodal Surface Transportation and Efficiency Act. It brought highway money to Central New York in upstate New York in great amounts, and helped us to revitalize things like the canal and other things. My big concern about Congressman Walsh continuing to represent us is that he accuses me of beaming doom and gloom, but then he says, quote, "The economy is burgeoning now." Burgeoning now. I don't know what district he lives in if he thinks this economy here in Central New York is burgeoning. Sure, we have many assets, but we have many challenges. It doesn't seem that he can recognize them enough to face them. Senator Moynihan, who I would model my career after, always recognized the challenges and faced straight up to them as honestly as he could. The most important possession I have is a letter that he wrote to me personally after I left his staff.
I need you to wrap up quickly, Mr.
I'm sorry,
Maffei,
I just saw the 30 seconds, so.
we want to make sure we get to our 3 minutes
absolutely,
at the end.
absolutely. There's a letter I have from his staff that's saying, don't ever lose your candor and your honesty. They'll serve you well. And that's what I intend to do.
Thank you, Mr. Maffei. Mr. Walsh, your character.
Speaking of bipartisanship, I introduced the authorization language bill for the Moynihan Center here at the Maxwell School, and helped my Democratic colleagues to, Senator Schumer carried the water in the Senate, did a good job on it, but I was a part of that. In terms of character, I have a public record. I have, for the last 18 years, voted for the people that live in this district. They've given me that trust. I've never betrayed that trust. I've never let them down. I think my values reflect their values, our values. At least I hope they do, and I believe they do, because I've had that challenge. And my dad served in public service. My brother and sister both are in public service. And we take it very seriously. It's a way to give something back to the community that I love, and I would never do anything to let them down. And my public record stands for that. This fellow, you take your chances. You know what you get with me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Mr. Maffei, right now we're going to go to closing remarks.
The first closing remark, I believe, goes to Mr. Walsh.
Thank you very much, Bob.